just a quick little intro about myself. So I've done the whole, I'm based in Seattle. I've done my whole gamut. I've been at Microsoft, and then at Amazon. And 2 years back, GE Healthcare hired me to build a partner program. Now, they go direct to customers. The first thing I had to do when I joined GE was explain what a partner is, which when you come from a world like Microsoft and Amazon where a lot of the business is being done through partners, it was a learning opportunity for me when I had to start describing what partners and partnerships mean. But in the last 2 years, we have been able to build the software partnerships. We have 20 partners. The program is self-funded, so we made some progress there. Alex talked a little bit about, hey, what happens when a vendor, a company like them go and talk to a large company like Apple and Facebook. So a lot of potential partners have been coming to me and are talking about partnerships. And really this presentation is created out of frustration where I have a pipeline of 200 potential partners. They get 30 minutes with me and they're not prepared. And they can ask some fundamental questions. And for those of you who run partner programs or do BD roles and are also tasked with figuring out if this is the right partner for us or not, you'll understand this challenge. So really, these 10 questions, and that's why, Hans, thank you. We're going to run through that. Hans, what's your SaaS idea that you're thinking about today?
Workforce supply chain.
All right. I have no idea what that is, but that's good because I would like to learn more. So your first question I asked them is, who's your customer? Hans, who's your customer?
Customer for this would be companies that are looking for on-demand, just-in-time project workers.
Who are those? Who's the user? Who is this customer?
The customer would be companies that have projects that they want accomplished, marketing programs, freelance type work, software development, looking for those types of project-oriented work to get done.
So it's the same challenge, right? I mean, I have 30 minutes. You give me a vague answer about the customer. You've lost me at that point, right? So again, not to pick on you, Hans, but it's typical. What you just told me was a very broad brushstroke of who the customer is. All right, let's move on. So what is the business problem you're trying to solve here? Hans, what's the problem you're trying to solve?
The business problem we're trying to solve is to help a client try to get a project accomplished.
All right. What would you say? That's very generic. What problem is this? Every day I solve the same problem for my clients. So what is it? Right? Again, the point I'm making is if you can't define who the customer is, you can't define what the business problem is, and it's very abstract and high level, then the BD or the partner program leader is suddenly starting to lose interest, right? So let's keep going. So all right, let's try this way. What are your use cases?
Specifically, use case is a project manager who has been requested to develop a piece of software or prepare, again, several use cases, needs to develop a printer driver in the next 30 days, specifically to a piece of equipment that they need to deliver as part of a project.
All right. If you gave me one use case, which was simple, and I got it, and it was, yes, we need something like this because that's a problem our customers are trying to solve as well, and you, partner, can solve that for me, then I'm excited. As soon as I hear there are multiple use cases, and there are many, many different use cases, it's a little scary as a partner program manager. It's like, with how many use cases? Is it a platform? Is it now, what are you trying to do with that, right? So this is another key question that I use to probe and understand, is there really an understanding of their own use cases? And often, not in case of Hans, but often these potential partners are unable to answer that fundamental question. So then I ask, okay, what does success look like for you? What are you trying to get? I mean, and it's not just from a partnership perspective, we'll get to that later, but from your business perspective, what are you trying to drive? So what are you trying to, what's your success?
The success metrics that we deliver is when one of your clients requests you to develop an integration to your particular piece of equipment, that we can deliver a resource within a quarter of the typical recruitment time for that resource, probably do it at least for 20% off of the market rate price, and with a satisfaction score in the top 25 percentile of vendors you'll work with.
Got it. So if you have specific metrics that align with the metrics that we are trying to drive for our business, then you've got my attention, right? But I'm making the assumption you answered my first 3 questions, which is who's the customer, you have a clear business problem, you have use cases that you can define, and now a success metric. So there are different success metrics that I hear, and those are fine. In the SaaS world, obviously I'm looking for customer churn metrics. I'm looking for are you in the early stages of building the product, right? And there's a ramp. I'm looking for some revenue numbers. Hans, you worked at GE, so revenue definitely is an important part in how we define success. So understanding that is important as we build the success together, right? And often it's forgotten. I mean, often I've had calls or meetings where people say, well, we haven't defined it yet, we'll come back to you later. And then, obviously, fundamental question, is it going to help you generate any revenue, or is there some other benefit that you're going to drive from what you're building? So is your SaaS solution going to help you generate revenue?
Yes, very often for professional services companies or people who are in business of making revenue from projects, this platform facilitates finding just-in-time resources that will obviously allow you to go after more business. And because it's a procurement platform for locating suppliers that have good performance metrics, you'll ultimately save some cost and time.
Right. So often people do have some revenue metrics, and when I start drilling into how the projections were made and how the numbers came about, I found that that's where it falls through for them. The assumptions that they're making on number of customers, some of the pricing models that they have, often made up and never tested with a real customer. And when you start looking at those projections and that business analysis, it doesn't come through together for them as well. So that is something, again, when I say, well, you really have to be clear, what are you trying to do for your company? Because if you can't do that for your own company, how are you going to do it together with us, right? So again, a challenge that I find is that these are the things that haven't been thought through. Again, it's okay if it's going to save time, but you should be able to quantify, how that time saving is going to translate as a saving of dollars for your customer. And I often struggle, and I'm coaching them at that point to say, go do that homework, because otherwise there is no story here. I don't know how many of you have to deal with this, but this is, again, an opportunity that I found in what we've then done is created webinars for our partners to actually coach them through the business case and business modeling exercise. Because a lot of technologists are coming to us and saying, we have this great idea and we've built the solution, but we don't have a great business case or a go-to-market solution, right? And then, at least in the healthcare world, this is something that gets forgotten. Do you have any legal compliance security, right? We live in the HIPAA, PII world. we have to worry about that, and these considerations have to be taken care of. And you'll be surprised that many times they haven't thought through that. You're going to globalize your product. EU has certain regulations. What about that, right? Have you thought through that? Because as we go to market together, or as we build this partnership together, and these things haven't been sorted out, then we have to do that for you, right? And if that's the kind of partnership you're looking for, then be upfront about it. Let's have the conversation about it. But if you haven't done that, then please go do that homework. And then finally, on your, do you want to go back and talk about number 6?
I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the platform that this is based on has been selected as the most secure, compliant platform for a large hospital network in terms of procuring services that the hospital buys just in time from their supply chain of service providers, staffing providers.
So who's said it's secure and compliant?
The hospital that ran a full test, given the fact that they had previously to that had a major data breach, and in the RFP selection process, this platform scored highest in security and compliant performance.
So so that's the other interesting thing, is that I do get a lot of these claims, and what I find is...
Be glad to give you the report.
Exactly. The report, there is no report. So when you say, who is the person, or who is the entity, the authority that says you are compliant, or you
audited,
are HIPAA, right? So then often that backup data is missing. So especially when, in financial and healthcare space, these things become important, can often be a deal breaker, and customers would hold you accountable for that. So those are some of the things I expect. This one is an interesting one. So this is basically, have you named your application? Can you describe it to me? And this is something, you think it's simple. I mean, if you have a product that you're going to market with, you've thought about the name for that product. And you have a description. And often the feedback I get is, hey, I don't have a description for it because my marketing person hasn't worked on it yet. Well, let's go do that, because that's important. And these are not just startups, right? They have a customer or few customers that they've sold it to, but they're still in the early stages, right? Or the description doesn't make any sense even if the product has been there in the market and obviously it's not selling. And the simple idea is, let's go find a channel partner who can help us sell the product. Well, I can't sell your product because there is really nothing I can call it, and then I don't even know how to describe your solution. And if the description is a bunch of jargon and acronyms, then I need you to go simplify so the customer can understand what you're trying to sell. So have you named your application?
Yes, it's a category of software that we base on top called vendor management systems, magic quadrants and things of such that are represented from market research.
So it's called what?
Vendor management systems.
Vendor management systems.
And our particular product is called Provade. And
so how do you describe Provade?
Provade is a vendor management system for procuring services, a full life cycle of work orders all the way to reconciliation of payments.
See, what did I say? So that's our challenge, is it needs to be simple enough that the customer understands what you have. Because when I'm going to put your description on my website and say, here's a partner, and I'm going to help you drive some leads, I need to be able to explain it. I should be able to parrot it back right when you tell me, but I can't. So I'm not your champion, neither is my sales team, nor my marketing team, or services or product team, because they can't repeat after you what you just described to me.
Yeah, that's why I started before.
Yeah, exactly.
The way I did. What about procuring or getting
Exactly.
people just in time?
So you're brave. Thank you, Hans. I wanted to kind of demonstrate what happens in these conversations and where we struggle. why some of these partnerships take longer and why that back and forth is also driving clarity sometimes for the businesses to be clear about why they want the partnership in the first place, right? So then my question number 8 is, do your customers, I'm not talking about our mutual customers and customers we're going to go get in future, right? Do your customers understand your SaaS solution, value proposition, and the pricing model, right? And I'm sure this room probably won't be surprised that articulating value proposition sometimes is hardest for our potential partners, right? So one of my screening criteria is if you can't describe the value proposition, then I don't know why we need to have this conversation. So it's a different perspective, right? It's different from what Alex shared just 20 minutes back. It is when you're evaluating these partnerships and some of this fundamental is missing, you can't even get to the transactional conversation and the business conversation you really, really want to have, because there is that lack of understanding of what is it that your solution actually brings to the table. So answer is yes, yes.
Yeah, value proposition is we make it much more efficient to contract just-in-time, on-demand project work from staffing suppliers, from all types of suppliers of that type of service. And the pricing model is a percentage of spend that's managed, that's purchased by the company from the vendors.
Yeah, so the interesting story here is I get pricing models which are 500 different SKUs, as if, we're still living in the on-prem world and we have to continue to use those same pricing model in the SaaS world as well. Simplifying your pricing model is going to be important as a description of your product and the value proposition of your product, right, or your offering.
Was that simple enough for you?
It was a starting point, but I would say as simple as $29 for X, right? Like, make it as simple as that, because if you're going to get repeatable business, if you're going to spend so much time just explaining your pricing model, we're not going to get the traction that you're looking for, the number, the success metric you have set in advance. So then this one is like, who or how will you? I'm not talking about that you need to have salespeople, but when a lot of potential partners come to us, they think, GE is now going to be their sales channel and the marketing channel and the service channel. And the truth is, my salespeople will not know everything about you, about your product and your solution. So you have to make it simple for them to know, and is it online? Is there going to be a trial that I can offer? Is there going to be a simple mechanism from a try-buy process and it's going to happen online? Are you expecting salespeople to do some of that heavy lifting? So that, kind of even thinking about who's actually and how your SaaS offering is going to get sold, online, offline, hybrid, whatever it is, people struggle with that. And I don't know if you've thought through that already and you have.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that we'll do all the selling.
Yeah.
Having done stuff with larger companies and understanding that there's some integration or other issues that need to be brought on how you would actually utilize our service.
Right.
So I think the aspect of this is much more of the way we work with other large companies, which is the beginning of an introduction and a setup for services that ultimately are delivered with product.
Right.
So.
And then finally, the most forgotten is, of course, you've sold it, you've given, you've figured out your pricing model. Thank God you have a name for your application and a description. What about who's going to support it? Who's going to service it? Who's going to continue to nurture and retain the customers, the mutual customers we've obtained? And that, that is sometimes a giveaway for me, is because it's given that, once we have you as a partner, we hope that you will do all of that work for us. Well, hope's not the answer here, right? We have to have that dialogue and make sure that some of those SLAs are written into our agreements so that when service and support issues happen, it's not coming as a surprise. And often this gets forgotten, right? This is a chapter that, as I've been looking at some other partner program agreements, it's kind of gone. And then it comes back, surfaces as a big escalation, big issue, and then you have to solve for that. So I would say question number 10 is, have you, Hans, thought about how
Yes,
you're going to do all of that, right?
a lot, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and being a SaaS solution, we have typically the quarterly releases. We have real SLAs that have economic impact with down performance, since we're part of a lot of other BPO operations within a company. So yes, we've thought a lot about this.
So bringing it all together, these are the 10 questions that I now give out. And I learned the hard way. Now I have someone else who first says, please prepare these 10 questions, then come to Neeti and have the conversation about the partnership. Because if you can answer these 10 questions, you have a product, you have a go-to market that you've thought through, and we can begin the partnership conversation. And we can say, what is it that we can give you and what we can't give you, and where you fit into the partner program and where the benefits are. And I can tell you, we made better progress. Those 30-minute conversations are more fun. We get to know each other. We build trust. We actually have all the T's and C's for our agreements in place, because now potential partners are coming prepared with some of these things. And if they haven't thought of it, at least they come and say, well, you know, one of the startups that we were working with, they had a great product, and they said, where we are in that stage is we need to figure out our pricing model. Guess what? We worked with them on their pricing model, helped them figure it out, tested with some of the customers, and were able to then bring them into the program. But if we didn't have had that conversation and they were not transparent about it, we couldn't, they were a big no, right? Sorry, you haven't thought about it. Go back, do your homework, come back. So I have found some of these resources useful, great books. I'm sure some of you have seen these, read these. If not, I would say definitely good SaaS, useful books to read. I have recommended it to a lot of partners, potential partners who come to me and haven't thought about their business model, haven't thought about their pricing strategy. If there are others, please send them my way as well, because I'm always looking for great resources. That's all I had. Thank you, Hans. Thank you for pitching your product, and hopefully you'll revise your story based on those 10 questions and come back and talk about partnership with us.
All right, thanks, Hans. Thanks, Neeti. We have time for a couple of questions. I have a question.
Yes, of course.
People really have come to you without a name for their product?
Yes, it's a real true story.
And I thought I had courage, jeez.
So, and also, I mean, sometimes the names don't make any sense.
Well, that's,
that
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Any questions for Neeti? Anybody in the audience? Yep.
Yeah?
Two quick ones. The 10 questions, and I may have missed this, but do you send those to the prospective partner ahead of time?
Yes.
You do, and say, be
Yeah.
prepared, and then
Yeah,
talk about this?
yeah. And I also have now a screening process where one of my colleagues goes through these before they even come to me, because we can't take it's too much time spent, 200 in pipeline, and each 30 minutes multiplied by 200, we won't be able to show any impact to GE if we continue to just have these conversations with every potential partner. So, yeah.
And part two to that as well. Would you, if I'm going to use, or someone's going to use these 10 points to sell something internally to, let's say, the CEO of the partner program, would you change anything from these 10 sort of themes, or would you suggest keeping those same themes if I'm trying to sell to a board or an executive team?
I would say start with these, but If there are other things you would add, feel free to add. But these are fundamental. Like if you can't answer these 10, then you haven't asked the simple questions that they would ask you. I use these to even when I was selling the partner program internally as a starting point.
That's
Right?
what I'm wondering.
And I also have a version of this which is more for data scientists, which I created so that they can go and talk about data. So some of the data questions I haven't added for SaaS, but if you're a data scientist building machine learning algorithms, then I have some questions layered in about the data set, the verification of the data set, how clean the data is, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I would say these are tried and tested. We've run this with 200 potential partners, and we've gotten some good success with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
Quick question. The corollary, what would be your top 3 type of partners that you're looking for? Partner types.
So today, they are independent software vendors that are building SaaS software that's complementary to our solutions, right? We are looking for development partners and then also services partners, right? So those are 3 categories. We're starting to do some more work with content partners. So in the healthcare space, people who build medical dictionaries, stuff like that. So those are also ones that we are just starting to, but those get embedded into the product, so the cycle is longer. The faster ones are obviously service partners and ones that complement our solutions. And those are the kinds that have been coming to us.
Okay, super. All right, thank you so much, Neeti. So we're at a break right now. We got a break from 2:30 to 3 before the next sessions get up. So anybody who has additional questions, I'm sure you can find her out in the break area. She'll be happy to answer them for you. Thanks for your attention and participation, and look forward to seeing you in a little bit.